Welcome back to the Cossy Ask the channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Something big is happening in Arsenal this summer, and you should be very excited. This summer, Arsenal are breaking their transfer record, which currently stands at 235 million euros. We spent that in the summer of 2023 when we signed Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, Julian Timber, and David Raya on loan by then for 3.5 million euros. Now, that takes the total spent to 235, and that is the biggest Arsenal have ever done in one transfer window. But this summer, Arsenal are going beyond that. Arsenal are willing to go above 300 million if possible. And the BBC are saying Arsenal can do that. Arsenal are okay financially. They can spend 200 million pounds or 300 million pounds, and they will be okay because they're a very profitable club. And at the moment, they don't have any issues with PSR, with with any financial fair play rules. Arsenal are absolutely okay. But the big question: what will the squad look like after 300 million? Which are the players that are going to take this 300 million in what positions? And most importantly, what are the expectations of this Arsenal team, especially under Mikel Arteta? If you spend 200 million in one summer and then 2 years later you spend another 300 million, you're no longer a novice manager. Yes, we understand that Mikel Arteta has brought Arsenal from a very deep hole from far away. But remember, Arsene Wenger built Arsenal the way we know it today. The Arsenal we know now was built by Arsene Wenger. And Arsene Wenger was never given 250 million 300 million, 350 million to spend in one summer. And there is an argument that I want you to let me know in the comment box below about. Do you think that if Arsene Wenger was given the same amount of money that Mikel Arteta spent so far, he would turn Arsenal around and win silverware? I mean, this is a manager that challenged Manchester United without money. This is a manager that went against Sir Alexander Chapman Ferguson. Ferguson could ask for any player that he wanted from rivals or even from abroad. He got Berbatov from Tottenham. He got Van Persie from Arsenal. He got Carlos Tevez. He got Wayne Rooney, all from Premier League clubs. So this is a guy that could point at a player and get him. And Arsene Wenger wasn't as fortunate. So do you think Arsene Wenger would have done better with Mikel Arteta's money at Arsenal? But for now, let's focus on what a 300 million summer at Arsenal looks like, and what are the expectations of such a summer for Mikel Arteta. Of course, Mikel Arteta in goal, he wanted a new backup goalkeeper, and he got one. Now, initially, Arsenal wanted to sign a new backup goalkeeper for 25 million, but Andrea Barter's guidance helped us save some money, and we have spent 5 million that is on a new goalkeeper. So 5 million is gone. Of the 300 million, 5 million is already gone. And I think that is money well spent. Experience has come in. And also a goalkeeper that has a very good relationship with our number one. The one thing we're not going to hear at Arsenal this summer is Kepa is trying to push to be number one, and David Raya is frustrated. So there's a very good working relationship between the two goalkeepers. And for me, the 5 million is 100% justified. And then Arsenal have also signed Christian Nørgaard from Brentford for 15 million euros. Now, Arsenal are trying to rebuild different parts of the team. We're trying to rebuild the midfield that has seen two departures in Jorginho and Partey, and they're also trying to fix the attack and fix the defense and the goalkeeping department as well. But in midfield, the first signing, obviously, we can confirm is Martin Zubimendi. But let's first talk about Christian Nørgaard. Christian Nørgaard, 15 million this summer. That takes the spending to 20 million, right? 20 million spent on Kepa and Christian Nørgaard. And with Christian Nørgaard, the one thing I want to say is the right age. He's a Premier League proven player. And I think, although people might say he's not an upgrade to Jorginho, he's not at the same level as Jorginho. And I agree. I don't think Christian Nørgaard is at the same level as Jorginho. Jorginho is like, levels above. But when you ask me, or if you ask me, do I feel comfortable with Christian Nørgaard as a backup to Zubimendi with Declan Rice around? Absolutely, yes. Arsenal didn't have to spend 20, 30, 40 million to replace Partey. You already have Declan Rice in that role. You have Martin Zubimendi coming in. All you needed was a player that could give you quality cover, and Christian Nørgaard can do that very, very well. So that is 20 million already well spent. Then Arsenal have gone to Real Sociedad and have agreed a deal to sign a youngster, and not really youngster, but one of the best in his position, Martin Zubimendi. Martin Zubimendi coming at Arsenal for 66 million euros. Now, that has taken the spending from 20 million to 86 million, right? So far, Arsenal can comfortably say we have spent 86 million of our budget this summer. And that explains why when Arsenal were first bidding for Christian Mosquera, they went in with 14 million. They wanted the whole spend on Christian Mosquera, Kepa, Zubimendi, and Nogat to be a flat 100 million. But Valencia was saying, they said no. So let's talk about the first three signings and the first 86 million euros that have been spent. When you ask me, Zubimendi is one of the best players in his position. Now, there are arguments about Lucien Agume, about Kamavinga, about Orion Tchouameni. The one thing we're going to see is a revolution of new defensive midfielders. We're going to see a lot of new defensive midfielders in the Premier League this campaign. Zubimendi and, of course, Nico Gonzalez at Manchester City, for me, will be the highlights. But we're even going to see more, right? But if you're Arsenal, and you have a Thomas Partey that's becoming older by the day, he's 32, and there is an opportunity, what we would call a market opportunity for a player in his prime at 26, and that is Martin Zubimendi, and he can do what Partey doesn't do, although he doesn't do what Partey does at times. I think you go and do that deal. Again, Zubimendi, great signing, great value for money. So I can comfortably say the first 86 million have been spent successfully. Now, the next deal there is a centre back. Arsenal are looking at Christian Mosquera, and I think the question with Andre Bata and Arteta, they should be asking themselves, do we really need a centre back this summer? Because Arsenal could entirely do away with the idea of signing a centre back, and we can be okay, and we will be okay. But this is Arsenal being proactive, and this is Arsenal being prudent enough. I mean, it's also Arsenal being reactive because it's been quite a very, very complicated season, injury after injury, especially at the players at the back. And imagine, Arsenal are one of the well-stocked teams at the back, and we were affected massively defensively, okay? So Mikel has gone, I want another defender, and I want to spend 15 million euros to about 20 million euros. Now, Christian Mosquera, I think this deal goes for 20 million. For me, it goes for 20 million. I think there is a chance where we could sign him for 17, 18, but it's going to be 20 million. Valencia are hell-bent on keeping the player, even if it means letting him go for free next summer. I don't think Arsenal want that. This is a good market opportunity. Arsenal will pay the 20 million. Otherwise, again, if Arsenal don't pay the 20 million, who else are you going to sign at that level of Christian Mosquera? Remember, we want a player that can be a backup and understudy to Saliba. A player that can step up in case Saliba is not around. Mosquera is the player. So 20 million, that takes the spending to 106 million. Well, when you look at that, 106 million, that is money well spent so far. And we have strengthened the defense. We have strengthened the goalkeeping department, the midfield. Well, maybe not strengthened, right? There's an argument that Arsenal have not become better with Zubimendi and Nogat vis-a-vis having Jorginho and Partey. But we have successfully replaced these guys that have actually left. So the first 100 million has been spent. Now, the next signings are what is going to blow the budget out of proportion. Because after signing a midfielder and a defender and a goalkeeper, Arsenal then want to focus on getting a centre forward. And guys, we know if you want a good centre forward these days, your mind should be looking at 70 million and above. If you don't have 70 million in today's market, you're either not getting a centre back, a centre forward, or you're getting one of the worst strikers in the world. And Arsenal's budget for a centre forward is 70 million euros. That is why Arsenal and RB Leipzig are finding it difficult to close the deal for Benjamin Sesko. Arsenal is saying, we have so many deals to work on, we have so many deals to do, we can't just spend money like that. We're not giving you 80 million euros. We're giving you 70 million euros because there is other deals we've got to work on. And Arsenal are looking at Gyökeres as a strong market opportunity this summer because if Gyökeres was available, let's say, for 65 or 60 million euros, that means that Arsenal could have an extra 10 million to save and spend on other positions, right? So Arsenal are willing to spend 70 million on a new striker. And all the players we're looking at, they're in that range. Hugo Ekitike, 70 to 80 for me. Shesko, 70 to 80. And Gyökeres, 60 to 70. Now remember, we had spent 106 on the first positions. With the striker coming in, that takes the spending to 176 million, right? So we are very close to reaching our current transfer record, which is 235. We set that in the summer of 2023. So the striker makes us better. Obviously, I'm behind Arsenal. Don't overspend on a new centre forward, but don't underspend. Because if you underspend, you're gonna end up with someone like Jonathan David for free or a ramshackle striker. If you overspend, you're gonna get someone like Shesko, has nothing special yet, but because everyone knows you want a striker, they think you're desperate. And Arsenal played their cards right, just close to our chest. We are not showing anyone what we are working with, but everyone knows Arsenal are willing to spend about 70 to 75 million euros on a new centre forward. So that will take our spending to 176 million. And then Arsenal want to sign a new right winger. And the right winger option is not something new. This is something that Arsenal have been working on for some time. It also led us to the signing of Raheem Sterling. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Like, I still have post-traumatic trauma disorder when I talk about that signing. Not the player, but the signing and how it worked out. Jesus Christ. So, Arsenal have been linked with a couple of right wingers in the past. Bakayoko, you will remember. Raheem Sterling eventually signed for Arsenal. Sané didn't sign for Arsenal, but was very close, and a couple of others. And Mikel has always wanted someone that can deputize Bukayo Saka. The idea initially was to keep a player like Reece Nelson at the team, but Reece said, I don't want to be a backup to this guy. I want to go and fight for my career. I want to find my own footing. So Arsenal are now looking at either Igor Paxiao, we have this boy, Madueke at Chelsea, and Malik at Lyon. And all those could cost us around 30 to 35 million euros. Now, Madueke is the leading contender. Arsenal have made a bid. Arsenal are very serious about Madueke. So we are going to go with the pricing of Madueke. We have spent 176 on a center forward, midfielders, defenders, and a new goalkeeper. If you add Madueke as a right winger, again, for me, this is a position we absolutely need, right? We need someone that can give you that quality that Saka gives you when he's not around. But also, we need someone that can, just allow us rotate Saka so that he doesn't get injured out of reckless play. So Madueke, let's say, for 34 million euros, that takes the spending to 200 million, 210 million, okay? 210 million. We have signed a new right winger. We have considered a center forward. We have considered the midfielders that have come in, and we have also considered a goalkeeper and a new centre back. Now, Arsenal can stop there. 210 million, that is a very good summer. But we have not talked about the left winger, and we've not talked about the new attacking midfielder. Now, this is where we obliterate our transfer record. So Arsenal is saying, what if we spend 50 million on Eberechi Eze? What if we got an attacking midfielder that could cost us about 50 to 60 million? Now, Arsenal's eyes are locked onto Eberechi Eze, who they feel he can be signed below his release clause. His release clause is 68 million, but Arsenal feel 45 is not enough, but 55 could actually do the deal. And I'm also one of those people who feel, because Eberechi Eze wants to join Arsenal, we might have the Declan Rice effect, where Rice wins the Conference League for West Ham and is allowed to leave through goodwill. Maybe Crystal Palace accept 55 million from Arsenal for Eze out of goodwill to allow the player go and pursue his dream of playing for Arsenal once again, because he was released as a young player, and it was painful for him. So that takes our spending. If it's gonna cost 55 million, let's say 60 million, right? Because I think it will be 60 million euros and above, but let's say 60 million euros. Now that takes our spending to 270 million this summer, just by adding an attacking midfielder and then a left winger. For the left winger, I think Arsenal will again spend about 60 million to 70 million. But if it's Rodrigo, we might see Arsenal go into the 80 million euro mark. If it is anyone else, it's going to be between the 70 million euro mark. Now, Rodrigo is complicated. I'm going to consider a transfer for 70 million euros. Remember, we have already spent 270 million euros on the other positions. The left winger would be the last signing Arsenal make, and that would take our spending to 340 million this summer. And when you think about all these positions, it's not like Arsenal are not trying to sign a player there actively. Arsenal are trying to sign a player in each of the positions we've talked about actively this summer. So the expectation becomes, if Arsenal spend that money in one summer, after spending 235 million in 2023, Mikel Arteta and this team must win the Premier League, win the Champions League, and not just one trophy. In the next 5 years, after spending this much, you should be able to show us 2 Champions League trophies and 3 Premier League trophies. And I know this is an era where Liverpool are strong, and I know when this is an era when Man City are strong. But for you to spend 300 million in one summer and you don't show us anything, I'm sorry. It's unacceptable. And also, we must see better brand of football. It should be a better brand of football. Like this Arsenal team passing around. It should stop. Yes, it's okay to keep possession. It's okay to pin teams in and focus them in. But we should be able to see penetration. We should be able to see the ability of this team in the air, just like we saw last season. On transitions, we have not seen that, but also the ability to break down the teams in a low block that we haven't seen. 300 million for Arsenal this summer? I don't know, but it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. Like, if you're an Arsenal fan out there and your team is spending this much on new signings and you're not excited, you have something absolutely wrong with you. Because for me, I'm really, really excited. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll speak to you right in the next one.